I got to turn to college football now. We just wrapped up media days for all the conferences out there. A lot of people had a lot to say about what the future is going to look like. I'm talking to two other Big Ten fans on here. I'm the ACC guy here. But Richard, 2030 sounds like it's going to be a really huge year in terms of what the media landscape could look like, because it seems like college football is going to be changing then. You have reports that Carolina, Clemson, and Florida State, even though they've settled their lawsuits with the ACC, they may be already looking for what an exit ramp looks like in 2030 when the price comes down to leave their conferences. And then are we looking at that sort of time where is that where these super leagues, I guess, for college football are going to come into play?
Yeah, first of all, let me be very, very clear. I spent 1 year in Ann Arbor, Michigan, and I was long past college age. It was a fellowship year. So like I cannot call myself a Big Ten person. I'd be a fake Big Ten person. That said, I did live in one of the great college towns for a year, and it was incredible. And I, at least if nothing else, I now understand why like 18, 19-year-olds like want to go to a school like Michigan or Ohio State or Northwestern. Like I now get it, because like that was not as much as I like my alma mater, the University at Buffalo is not exactly in the same sentence as Michigan and Ohio State. I think you have nailed it, Austin. I feel like where college football is going is where like we recently sort of saw all the stories about the Super League in soccer, where like, you know, all the Barcelonas and the Chelseas and Liverpool, et cetera, would break out and basically sort of form their own form their own league and basically try to make more money having those teams play against each other, because that's where the media interest is. I don't necessarily know if there's only going to be two conferences. I mean, I think that seems like kind of insane just in terms of the numbers. But if you're asking me what it's like in 2030, like I would say maybe 3 or 4 major mega power conferences at the most, and then everyone else is separate. What I couldn't tell you is, and a lot of this will be determined by the college football fan base, is how much do they still want to have quote unquote Cinderellas like as part of the postseason? Like how much will the appetite remain for like a Boise State or I mean, you guys probably know college football better than me, you know, sort of fill in your school that every 3 or 4 years might have a run in a lower level conference where they're, you know, or an Army or a Navy or something like. The real question is like, I know what the conferences want. I think Big Ten and the SEC basically want to sort of control everything and get as many playoff spots as possible. But the real question will be sort of the fans here is like, what's the appetite in terms of a postseason to have like those kind of teams? What's very clear is like college basketball, I think, has made its sort of DNA on at least early in the tournament, like to have those kind of teams. So I understand the expansion, like interest in that to go to whatever the number is. But 2030, Austin, I would think the Big Ten and the SEC get bigger, get stronger. I wouldn't be surprised if they expand. And I think they'd be looking at, they're not going to get NFL money, but I don't want to guess because it'd be impossible for me to guess the economy in the 2030. But if you were telling me like, you know, college football's valuation, like the two power conferences, the valuation is like the same as the NBA, like just signed, I don't think that's unrealistic. If you combine those two conferences. But yeah, I think that's where we're heading. I mean, the power inventory is of interest to Fox and ESPN, and I think obviously ultimately will be interested to streamers. If you want me to make a prediction on your podcast, I will. I would be stunned if one of the streamers does not have a hand in major college football in 2030. I would literally be stunned because I feel like all of these companies are going to look at the numbers. They look at the cultural appeal the sport has. They look at how passionate people are about those brands. I mean, look at Mollie and you when it comes to Georgia Tech and Northwestern. So I would be stunned if like a Netflix or an Amazon Prime or an Apple do not go to one of these conferences and just literally blank check them where they cannot turn it down. Maybe they don't get all of it, but I think they're part of it.
Sticking with college, though, will the CFP get to 16 teams? And how quickly do you think that could happen?
I believe that college football will expand. I am certain college basketball will expand. I can't tell you when. Mollie, both of us are very big women's basketball fans. I will predict that tournament expands. I would be stunned if it doesn't in the near term as well. And I think all of it is because whether you're the NCAA, whether you're conferences, you can extract more money from these places. And so I would be, whatever number you think is projected in 2030 in terms of on the high side for college football. That would be my bet. That's what I would bet on.
And that could be around when we see ESPN wanting to pay more for this. ESPN's got a lot going on right now with D2C. They might not necessarily be interested in putting out a blank check for an expanded CFP at the moment.
But there will be some money. I mean, they're going to save money. Like, I mean, I think we all agree baseball, whatever the dollar figure on baseball is going to go down, right? I would be stunned if they keep F1. Again, these are not NFL deals, right? But I think if you look at their portfolio, I think they'll self-examine a lot of stuff over the next 5 years. And I think they will cut back on things that they don't think can bring in hardcore consumers to their product. I mean, I think they're at a point of their rights deals where they have enough mass where I think if you're in with them, you're in with them. And I think if they lose a couple of properties, I don't think you're going to abandon ship. They're really, if we look at all their rights properties, probably 4 or 5 things they cannot ever lose. And I think, Mollie, you hit on this early in the conversation. They can never lose the NFL. I would say they can never lose college football. And probably at this point, they can never lose the NBA. They don't have a business, certainly, without the NFL. But I don't think they have a business without those 3 in terms of what they're trying to do.
I got to imagine 2032 when both NCAA deals line up. You're talking about all those championship events with the women's tournament and then March Madness, men's March Madness. That all lines up now for the NCAA to go to market for that tournament in 2033. ESPN's going to want that. They're going to want that bad.
I would be, again, I am projecting 8 years into the future, and I will make an easy prediction. I will not be covering any of this 8 years in the future. I promise. I don't know if I'm covering it tomorrow. The one thing I would easily predict, and I bet you two would agree with me, there is no way I see whatever the new title is, Discovery. Is it Discovery Global now? What is the new title of our...
It's Warner Brothers and Discovery Global.
There is no way I see them part of March Madness in the 2030s. No way. No, I don't see them. I don't see them floating. First of all, I don't know where their business is going to be then, that part of the business. I think the other part of the Discovery business looks to be less saddled with debt. So maybe they sort of go forward. But that's one where I think is absolutely going to be open. We'll see where CBS is at that time. My sense is, if CBS Sports still exists close to what it is today, I think they're going to want it. But I'm with you, Austin, on that. That would be a crown jewel for ESPN that they have never had. They believe in Bristol that they helped build the popularity of college basketball in the United States. And in many ways, that's an accurate statement. But they have never had, right? They have never had the final part of their story every year. It's a massive hole for them. And so I think they would consider that a big part of their DNA, and they would go for it, particularly because, again, they're not perfect on this. And the championship game should still be, in my opinion, on primetime on ABC. But they have done a great job of building the NCAA women's tournament significantly every year. And I think the executives who are there now always think to themselves, man, can you imagine what we could do with that tournament? Like if we had. That's not a knock on Turner and CBS, who've done a really good job with it. But I know that's thinking in Bristol on that.